Alright guys, that's Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. One of the big dramas of last weekend was over the watch party, Zuma and Benjay Nassim going at it, and also some criticism of the OpTic watch party was hitting the timeline for sure. Scump has now responded to that last night in some great detail. Plenty else going on the day as well, including aBeZy returning to a team in some form or another. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. First thing to get into here was with Envoy. Now, Envoy are not in Call of Duty again yet. Maybe that will be the case in the relatively near future, who knows? But we know that HyDra was talking about it the other day, getting back into COD, or at least saying that it's the first time in a very long time he's not been involved in COD, because until recently, Envoy and OpTic were still kind of part of the same thing. That, of course, has now changed. Envoy are their own thing again. Well, kind of, because they've gone from one merger onto effectively another merger. So they've merged with Native Gaming. Now, when you hear merger, is it really a merger? Is it more like, you know, are they actually a partnership, or is it one organisation kind of acquiring the other one? Because OpTic and Envoy was a merger, but realistically OpTic, you know, went under the Envoy ownership, but then OpTic took the branding. So it was a partnership, merger, whatever you want to say. Some might call it an acquisition. But anyway, Native Gaming, they've not really done anything in COD. They've been around Halo for a couple of years, and it looks like they're going to effectively join forces. So it's one of these things that Envoy fans will probably sit there and think, oh, well, would be nice if we could do it on our own type thing. But I guess there's an understanding from both perspectives maybe that this is the way to go. So yeah, does this mean anything? I mean, it might mean that Envoy as an organisation become to some extent more stable, and that could increase the likelihood maybe of Envoy coming back to COD. There has been a bit of speculation and some rumours anyway for a little bit of time. Could Envoy put together a COD team again in challenges this year, or will they wait for the future, getting back into the franchise league in some form? Even they could bring back the Dallas Empire branding, which many would like, but I'm not sure it's necessarily what they want to do. Hastro's, you know, at the end of the day, Dallas Empire, as good as it was as a branding, it wasn't necessarily the branding that Envoy wanted. They wanted Envoy, but you know, they had to make sacrifices because of the way that the CDL went at the time. Another big update of the day. So the Major 3 location has now officially been confirmed. Now, I'm pretty sure the league, when they first announced this, so last year, you guys remember, they announced it as the Miami event, and it turned out it was in Fort Lauderdale, which, okay, it's close enough, but it's not quite Miami. This year, when they announced it as the Fort Lauderdale event, as in, presumably, going back to the same venue as last year. I wasn't there. It didn't get rated especially highly, let's say, as a Call of Duty event last season. This year, they initially announced it being there, but have actually moved it, and it's going to be in Boca Raton. Now, this is really cool, I think. It's not in downtown Miami. This, I think, is how it's going to be now for Call of Duty events going forwards, where we don't necessarily, you know, we did an event in Raleigh a couple of years ago, and of course some of the studios still based out of Columbus and stuff. But if you look back in the day, lots of the events would be at, you know, those type of cities where it was just cheaper to run tournaments. I don't think we want to go necessarily back to that point, but it is getting to a point where running an event in the city itself, at least in a bigger city, is a bit more expensive. So I think what you'll see the teams do now, and it's obviously the same with the Dallas event, isn't it, right? It's Dallas, but actually the event venue is up in Allen, half an hour north of Dallas, where presumably it's cheaper to run the event. So I think that's why, you know, we're seeing stuff like this. I think maybe this is the way to go. Like, we still get to go near enough to the big cities, but the event is run somewhat outside of the big cities because, you know, we ain't got the bread for that, basically. So, but yeah, it's not like this is a bad place, right? If you have a look on the Google Maps or any opportunity to do so, this, of course, is downtown Miami. You go further north up to Fort Lauderdale, where the event was last year. Of course, a very controversial event where, well, you guys remember that I think it was Accuracy's team, Minnesota Rocker, they were staying in, was it the Holiday Inn? And there was some sort of gunfight going on next door. The police were getting involved. It was spring break, I think, as well. So it was a bit of a mess. But yeah, last year's event was in Fort Lauderdale. Not one that I'm sure many of the pros or even fans, I don't think necessarily wanted to go back to. But yeah, this time it's going to be up in Boca Raton. And I think the venue is right here. So this is the airport that you can fly into. And the event venue is literally right next door. So yeah, this is where the event is going to be held. And they confirmed it all last night. celebrate at the Eleanor R. Baldwin Arena in Boca Raton, Florida. So that's the date, 24th to the 27th of February. Of course, Texas is going to finish, and then pretty much after Dallas, straight back into the qualifiers. 4 weeks of qualifiers, no minor this time, straight to the major again in Miami. Now, people are obviously also going to say, how is it fair that Miami get to host 2 events? Because kind of they hosted 2. Well, they didn't really host 2 at all. The event in Madrid was Toronto's, but it was in Spain, so, you know, they gained some advantage from that. Maybe they get to use some of the nice footage from it, of course, because they were there in Madrid in front of at least a Spanish supporting crowd at times. But they didn't even host the event. It's on Toronto on that side. But it's another potential nice thing for Miami. And at the end of the day, there's just not that many organizations that actually can or want to host these events right now. So I think it is what it is. Now, let's talk roster updates. The Stallions are back. You guys might remember when the Stallions got dropped because they decided to get rid of Encourage. Zuma was not informed about this, and he's a pretty, you know, big fan of Encourage as a future as a player. So he then just drops the whole program. Now they're back, however, so Abe and Lurks are back here with Encourage, but the 4th is actually going to be iLLeY. Now this is pretty interesting just because I think initially the idea was of the Stallions, and I think even Zuma said this when he dropped them, that, you know, his intention isn't really to bring on veteran experienced players, it's more to help, you know, the up-and-coming players really come in. So signing iLLeY seems to go against that, but, you know, JoeDeceives new on the block, so maybe that's part of the plan. But look, at the end of the day, I think I see the vision here. iLLeY can come into the team, bring some search and destroy prowess to these guys, teach them a fair bit about that, and who knows how they're going to get on. We will say, though, the spotlight will be on. I mean, the Stallions are out of there. Zuma decided not to support the program anymore after some of the controversy. Now they're back. iLLeY's on the team as well. Encourage, I mean, like Lurks and Abe, they've got talent too. Encourage has been a controversial character in recent times after, you know, obviously he's got some talent, but his results and his execution hasn't really been there as of late, and some people have been saying, oh, give him time, some people have been clowning on him. That's how it goes here in competitive cards, and iLLeY was kind of quote tweeting and talking about it as well, but Encourage says, feels good to be back. So we'll see how these guys get on going forwards, because, you know, presumably they're going to want to be turning up and doing rather well to the Challengers event in Dallas in just over a week's time, really. Everything gets underway out there. So, yeah, Zuma confirmed it last night that the Stallions are officially back, and it's a great story, but iLLeY getting involved as well is certainly an interesting one, and iLLeY was also given some comments the other day on Neptune, right? So we know that Neptune, when he first came into the league, and this is, to be fair, still true, was just devastatingly effective, playing at an absurd pace, dropping great numbers, and that hasn't really changed, but his KD has gone down over the most recent series, and maybe they've played more competitive teams, such as, you know, they played Thieves again, right? Which is probably true. Is iLLeY right that Neptune's playstyle has been, I wouldn't say exposed exactly, but Neptune played, certainly when he first came into the league, in a way that not many other players, if anyone, actually did. I think you do tend to see this, like even when Hook came into OpTic, and even in previous years, this has also been true. Players from Challengers who have loads of reps and play the game potentially in a different way to the pros play it. They come in, they play, and they can teach the pros a fair few things about how, you know, is a valid approach on these particular titles. Maybe that applies to Neptune to some degree joining the Surge, but of course now that's no longer the case in terms of his absolute dominance that he had initially, but his numbers have still been very, very good. So iLLeY basically says that the pros are realizing, okay, Nep's going to play in this way and that way, we're going to set up to counter that to some degree, but iLLeY says, yeah, Nep's talented enough to readapt his playstyle, change up a little bit if he needs to, and keep being an incredible force. So, yeah, intrigued to your thoughts on that one in the comments section below. Couple of clips though to share for you guys, certainly on some of the watch party drama of the last weekend. So, if you guys didn't see the whole Nastie, Octane, Zuma beef, you know, the sheep and all that was going down, that was particularly entertaining, but it also wasn't exclusive, some of the controversy, just to the Zuma watch party. It was also true for the OpTic watch party as well. So, Scump's talking about a thread that hit the Reddit, and it was a thread that basically was roasting Maniac for being on the show begging for super chats. That was at least the implication of the thread. Now, there were other things that were kind of complained about lately with the OpTic watch party. You know, Methods was kind of responding to some of it, saying, because some people want them to break everything down and dive everything into great detail. At the end of the day, it's a watch party. I don't think, you know, you're meant to have good time watching the matches, right? I think that's what most people generally want. Of course, it's not going to be for everyone, and that's okay. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch, right? Scump makes that point rather clear as well. But yeah, Scump obviously saw this thread, deemed it to be a particularly bad hate thread, and then gives his perspective on it.
There was a entire hate thread on Reddit about the watch party last night. Long story short, they're getting mad at the super chats. And they're getting mad at Nick for saying he wants a super chat. I mean, goodness gracious, man. That's awesome. Fart into a mason jar and bring it for me? Okay, Riley, you caught me off guard with that one, you sick bastard. You're a sick bastard, man. Don't get one guide? Oh, no, it wasn't. It wasn't one guy. It was like a whole fucking... It was a whole on hate thread. You see, the thing about it, though, is people super chat, and then we react to it, obviously, because people are donating us money, so we react to it and read it. And then they get mad that we read it and react to it. I don't. It's like, how do you win in this situation? We either sit there and ignore people that are donating to the stream, or we read it and then people get pissed because we're reading it. It's like, what the fuck do we do? What the fuck do we do? You can't win, dude. We can't fucking win. I do get it. I do get it that they get mad whenever Nick's like, let me get a super chat. I get that. I can see how that could be annoying. I don't know why. I don't know why I get on Reddit. I don't know why I do it. I get on Reddit for the first time all fucking week, and there's a 200 comment hate thread about the watch party reading super chats. Why do I get on it? You know what I'm saying? For some hate dope? Yeah. Whenever I need to feel insignificant and small, I go on there just to see myself getting dragged. Watch party went downhill ever since Riley stopped using the soundboard. Please, God, don't give him fuel. Please, God. He does not need any more fuel for that.
I don't want to be the guy that talks about OpTic because it's all everybody is talking about, but it's by far and away the most bizarre situation that I've ever encountered in Call of Duty history. I don't think I'm like over-exaggerating when I say that. What is happening right now, if you consider what they did in the first split online in first place, looking at points throughout the first split, unbeatable, to now 0-15 in map count in their last 5 matches. I've never seen anything like it. I haven't even said the craziest part about all this. They won the world championship in the last Call of Duty title. I mean, not 6 months ago, they won a world championship, brother. And now, statistically, they are the worst team in the league with 4 superstar players. I don't know what's happening. It's crazy. I truly have never seen anything like it. Maybe they just need to get on land and, like, they'll sync back up. I don't know.
I don't think Nadeshot's wrong either on this whole OpTic thing, right? I mean, it is such a bizarre situation. I think it's why it's causing so much controversy and why it is still the big storyline, because it's their home major as well coming up, right? And as Nadeshot says, he doesn't really want to get into it, but like it's kind of difficult to avoid it. I know that there are still some LA Thieves fans though out there thinking, and I get this, right? They're playing OpTic on Friday, and there will be Thieves fans that are like, you know what, this could be a bit concerning. I'm sure there are some Thieves fans out there thinking this is going to be no issues at all. We're going to slam them, no questions asked. But there are definitely Thieves fans that are going to be concerned that Thieves might either let their foot off the gas or OpTic finally turn up for a series and whatever. I don't really see there's no evidence to suggest that's actually going to be happening. Thieves have been super good, and OpTic, I mean, you know, the less said about their performance lately, maybe even the better. But still, there's always a feeling that, well, surely OpTic will put it together at some point, and that's what Nadeshot says. Maybe they go to LAN, and all of a sudden it clicks and they start cooking again, right? The drums come out from Hitch, they start in the losers bracket, bracket, which they will. That's guaranteed at this point. I mean, it was almost guaranteed before the most recent weekend, but obviously after last weekend, there was no other questions to be raised on that. And maybe they can make a bit of a run right. I know that there was some talk as well about whether Scump was kind of like missing the point about where the criticism was coming from, but, you know, like, it's Scump's show at the end of the day. I think the people who watch or don't watch, like, you know, they're within their right to give their criticism, and Scump was within his right to say, well, look, it's my show, it's our show, we do what we want. And, you know, I guess people will still watch when the OpTic series is on for sure. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.